Hello everybody, welcome back to another managed training session. Today we're going to be running through how to add a bill into the system, but specifically today focusing on our newest feature release, which is generating and sending tax invoices through a bill task. Now there are three ways a bill can be entered into the system through managed, being via the property tab, via the action center, or via Billy. Now we're not going to be running through Billy today because Billy specifically is adding bills that already have an invoice, whereas today we're going to be focusing on standard bills that you don't have an invoice that you need to generate, and we're going to create those bill tasks and as well generate the invoices and create them. We're going to go through the properties section today, so just clicking on your property and then going to the task tab, followed by add a bill in the right hand corner. You're then going to pop in your title and your description. Then you're going to input your due date. So this is when the system is going to process the bill, whether it be from available rental funds in the property wallet or from a credit card or direct debit that the either owner has set up as their payment preference or even the tenant as well. Next, you're going to choose your task follower. So it's always good to have a task follower, especially if it is an owner or tenant bill, so they can log into their managed profile and they can go to task and see the task being created. If you don't have them as a task follower, it doesn't matter, they can still get a copy of the invoice, but if they missed the email and they wanted to jump onto the task tab, and then if they're not assigned, they're not going to be able to see it on their end. So really important if you do want them to sort of have access to the task to assign them. Then you're going to choose who's paying and who they're going to be paying to, and then input the price. Under payment reference, you can leave it blank. It will just use the property address, or you can be a little bit more specific as to what it's for. Then I'm going to come to the tax category section and choose the tax category. Once I've done that, coming to our new feature, which is the tax invoice feature. There are three options that I can choose from. I can either upload an invoice, so maybe you have done an invoice already through a software like Xero, or you might want to generate the invoice, which is our system generating the invoice. Now you've also got two options when it comes to generating the invoice. You can send the invoice to the debitor now, so after the task is scheduled, or you might come back and manually send it later. Regardless of the manually send it later, it's still going to generate the invoice. Otherwise, that final option is no invoice, and if so, you can upload a copy if you already have one, for example, like a council rate or water rate. But I'm going to go through the purpose of generating the invoice, and I'm going to select now after this task is scheduled. If I wanted to add any additional attachments, I can still do so. I'm going to click save. That is going to keep the bill in a draft status. I need to just double check, make sure everything is okay. Once I'm ready, I've got the green light that I can now schedule this payment. It's going to generate the invoice, and it's also going to email the owner a copy of that invoice too. So make sure that you click schedule. Remember, if you do not click schedule, the system is not going to recognize that the bill needs to be paid, and it's not going to either debit it from the owner's bank account or credit card, or two, it's not going to start holding funds from the tenant's rent to pay the bill. So scheduling the bill is the most important feature in order for it to be paid. Once the bill has been scheduled, I can see up the top successfully the invoice has been sent. I can also now see under my description that there is a tax invoice, and I can click on that PDF. It's going to show me the PDF that has been sent to the owner. If I needed to at any point resend the bill to the owner because they said that they didn't get it, I can click this resend bill to owner, and I can see that the invoice has been resent as well. Moving on to the transactions tab, I can also see that that marketing campaign bill has been scheduled and listed under the transactions tab. And based on this owner, if I was to refresh the feed, yeah, they pay their bills via rental funds. So now I can see that the wallet has updated and marked that $400 is now required, and that funds will start to be held as soon as rental items come through. Having a little look on what the bill actually looks like from an owner's perspective in the email. This is the email that the owner has received as soon as the bill has been scheduled, just giving them a little bit of information as to the task that they've been assigned to and what it's for. And then as you can see, there is that bill invoice attachment to the task. Now, if for example, it was the tenant paying the owner or the agency, how to pay in this section would appear with either their BSB and account details, so their direct deposit details into managed. Otherwise, it will also appear a little note as well, sort of saying that if they are set up on direct debit or credit card, then it would be processed from those payment methods that they've chosen. So with the tenant, they get the exact same thing. It's the exact same process with the tenant, except the invoice shows the BSB and account details that they need to pay to. So now we want to see what it looks like if you select generate invoice and then manually send later. So I've just done the same process as to what I've done before. The only difference is instead of ticking now, I've selected manually send later. Soon as I save the task and I schedule it, the system is still going to generate a copy of the tax invoice. Now it's not going to send that to the owner yet, but as soon as I click the send bill to owner, it's going to do that email that we just saw before and send that invoice to the owner. So hopefully that new feature has given a bit of indication as to the flexibility you now have when it comes to invoices and tax invoices regarding bill tasks for ones that you don't already have the tax invoices for. This may not be relevant if a tenant or an owner gets a copy of a council rate or a water rate or a maintenance task, more so for things that you don't have an invoice for and you want to generate and create one. Instead of doing it through a separate software, you can now do it through managed.